There's nothing quite like fall weather. The leaves are turning, there's a chill in the air, and the wind is blowing in a new season of postseason baseball. As we wrap up the final week of the regular season, the MLB playoffs are pretty much set. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Allie Winskowski, joined by Logan Bourandas and Nico Rodriguez for your MLB postseason preview. Only time will tell if October will blow in a few strong contenders or if one tornado will clear a straight path to victory. Looking first to the American League, there's a few returning teams, but also a few teams that haven't had a postseason berth in quite some time. Most notably, the Seattle Mariners, who are headed to the playoffs for the first time in 21 years, which ends the longest postseason drought in major North American sports. We'll turn to you first, Nico. Who is your favorite matchup in the American League bracket?
Let's start with the Mariners versus the Blue Jays, Logan. You know, the Mariners are the new kid on the block. They haven't been to the playoffs in 21 years. They're looking to surprise some people. They're looking to go on a run. But I think the biggest thing with this team is inexperience. None of these guys know what it's like to play under the bright lights, to play on one of the biggest stages. They also have to go into Toronto and play Jose Barrios, Kevin Gossman, and the AL September Pitcher of the Month, Alek Manoah. So I think it's going to be really challenging for them to go in there and win games. They also have not played a real team in the month of September. They've played the Royals, the Rangers, the Athletics, the Angels, and the White Sox. They haven't played real competition in probably the last month. So it's going to be really challenging to see what they can go in there and do. I think the Blue Jays lineup is also really strong. I think it's going to be way too much for Castillo and Robbie Ray. And with that, Toronto in 2.
Yeah, and I think you talk about the newness to this Mariners team in the playoffs. I'm going to talk about experience with the Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays, two teams that have been there before. The Rays have been to the World Series a few times in the recent years, and their roster, it's just not a lot of star power, but it's a lot of great players. I mean, on the graphic, probably don't know who that is. It's Brandon Louse. Had to go deep into the depths for that one, but they're taking on a Guardians team that a lot of people didn't expect them to be at this point. It was supposed to be the White Sox Central to lose. Even the Twins were up a lot in the Central throughout most of the first half, and then the Guardians had this really hot second half led by a strong infield. Jose Ramirez, they had this big trade with the Mets, got Ahmed Rosario and Andres Jimenez. Jimenez being an all-star starter over the second base spot. So it's a interesting lineup that the Guardians have, and going against a pitching staff for Tampa Bay that does have Tyler Glass now returning back for the first time this year. It should be an intriguing matchup to watch, and I think Tampa Bay's experience can get the job done.
I agree with both of you. Both are exciting matchups with the American League all around, just has great experience, and they should be exciting to watch. But looking to the National League next, so many teams are looking for a playoff run. It really has been one for the news lately. We'll start with you, Logan, this time. What is your favorite National League matchup?
Let's take a look at the sea of red in this matchup. The Philadelphia Phillies taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. A lot of interesting stuff really going on a lot. And both these teams, really. We talk about the Mariners ending their playoff drought. The Phillies have been in the playoffs in quite some time as well, and they're barely squeaking in to this one, getting by the Milwaukee Brewers if things do hold up. And the Cardinals, they pretty much have this one last drive with a lot of guys. Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, they all kind of left the field together a couple games ago. So it's really a lot of interesting stuff to look at from both sides. And the Phillies lineup, it's been often injured throughout most of their key guys. Bryce Harper's been out. You've had Nick Castellanos has been out. Even Kyle Schwarber from time to time. But when they're healthy, they can be a powerful team. And I think Philly can go on the road. And I think they do have what it takes to get the job done.
Let's talk your Mets versus the Padres, first round this upcoming week. The Mets just lost their biggest series of the year this past weekend, their biggest test of the year, in the hands of their 1-2 punch, DeGrom and Scherzer. It's not looking good. Time to raise the red flags. They have nothing going for them so far beside Eduardo Escobar in the month of September. They can't rely on their 1-2 punch. They're going into San Diego to play a good San Diego lineup, arguably one of the best rotations in baseball. They're not going to get it done. With that being said, the Mets are frauds. They're going to go out there and choke, and Padres in 2.
You both make all right points. As a Mets fan, I have to disagree with you, but I am looking forward to the Mets matchup. I think if DeGrom and Scherzer are healthy, then they have nothing other teams can't beat against them. So I'm looking forward to the Mets-Padres matchup as well. But finally, we have one final question for you. And, all teams are just focused on the Commissioner's Trophy at this point. And there's definitely some favorites, but when the field is set, anything can happen. So Nico, your World Series matchup.
I'm going Yankees, Dodgers. Everybody counted this Yankee team out. The past month, everybody counted them out, but they're back and they're better than ever. They have the depth to go the distance. They have Matt Carpenter, DJ LeMahieu, and Andrew Benintendi all on the bench, ready to go whenever. Glaber's been hot. Judge has been hot. Stanton's a playoff monster. Oswaldo Cabrera, just a new kid on the block. He's got that swagger. He's that guy. And then when the rotation is pitching well, you have Cole, Nestor, and Sevy. That's probably the best three in the AL. They're ready to go out there. And then on the other hand, the Dodgers, you have the big three. You have Kershaw, you have Gonsolin, and Urias. But then they're missing Walker Buehler, and it's going to be huge. Game 5 World Series in the Bronx. You're not pitching Andrew Heaney, so it's going to be detrimental. But they do have the playoff experience. But with all that being said, Yankees are having a parade down Main Street come November.
I like none of that take. I'm going to go with two completely different teams here. You talk about the Mets and losing to the Padres. I actually have them in my World Series taking on a different team from the AL, the best team in the AL, the Houston Astros. And the Astros have made 2 out of the last 3 World Series, ironically losing both to NL East teams. And that team has just been the model of consistency year in and year out. That lineup remains strong despite losing guys like Carlos Correa and George Springer over recent years. And the Mets, they signed a lot of guys this offseason for this moment in the playoffs. They brought in guys with playoff experience like Max Scherzer, like Starling Marte, who didn't play in that Braves series, by the way, like Mark Canha, who also comes over from Oakland. It's a unique team that's being built this year in New York, and one that's going to be in the playoffs for the first time in about 6 years or so, and it should be a fun series if this happens. The Mets didn't win against Houston during the regular season. I think the Astros would still win this series if it happens, but I think it's a good matchup. I think the Mets do have the edge over the Dodgers just in terms of that depth in the pitching rotation. You mentioned Walker Buehler not being healthy, and the Mets, they're just getting healthier. DeGrom and Scherzer, they're on the right track right now, and Chris Bassett as well. Despite everything that happened in the Atlanta series, it should be a fun one to watch.
Logan, I do like your prediction as a Mets fan, but Houston does have a lot of experience, and they've been consistent all season, and I would like to see the Mets in the World Series, so I hope you're correct. That'll do it for our MLB postseason preview on Penn State Sports Night. As the weather cools down, baseball is just starting to heat up. For Logan Bourandas and Nico Rodriguez, I'm Allie Winskowski. Postseason baseball starts Friday.
Hey everybody! Thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.